Welcome to Gestalt Poetry Open Mic for May 2024. It's so good to see everybody. Thank you for being here. This is a safe place for our perspectives, stories, and poetry. May we lift up love and light in these troubled times. I'm so excited to hear our feature poet Sarvin today. In just a little bit, she's going to be going first, and then we'll have the open mic. Before we start, if you'd like to know more about Gestalt, please visit amyhoskins.com/writing. And let's see, if you're not on the open mic list, please send me a direct message in the chat. I'm going to post it in there. Let me get the stick in that. Come on. There. All right, now to introduce Sarvin. Sarvin has been writing consistently since she could write. A few years of not writing was remedied by her simply inviting her writing side to return, which it did immediately in a new form of poetry after years of prose. During the pandemic, she started performing her poetry into spoken word, which opened up new realms of passionate expression. Her writing is raw, evocative, provocative, compelling, and relatable. Currently, she's working on a unique memoir project, tracking her own evolution through poetry, prose, storytelling, photography, sardonic humor, philosophical, psychological, and spiritual lessons learned, taught, and learning. She is originally from Iran, grew up in Austria, was Americanized, and lived in London for many years before recently moving to a seaside town in southern Spain for a culture and landscape closer to her own heart's rhythm. You can find some of her work on Instagram at Human Power Says, and she can also be found at www.humanpowers.net. Please unmic to welcome Sarvin.
Hello.
Hi.
Woo! Hi, everyone. Thank you, Amy.
Welcome.
How is everyone? If you can just put it in the chat, a word or two, how you're doing. Home. Glad, great, fine, battling. Looking forward. Tranquil in the moment. Fine. Glad to be here. Eager. Looking forward. Well enough. Peaceful. Okay. Here's the thing I want to talk about. The world is in crisis. Healing steadily, happy to be amongst friends. The world is in crisis. We are in crisis. We are in crisis. We are so disconnected. We're so distracted. You know, we're so stressed. We're living in survival mode. We're just trying to get by. We're doing our best. But this is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And this is what I'm passionate about. Like, we are disconnected from ourselves. We are disconnected from the rest of humanity. We are disconnected from the rest of the world. And it's not sustainable. My view is that we all have trauma, and trauma disconnects us from ourselves. That's just how it functions. We spend our time trying to survive, We spend our time trying to find ourselves. The world isn't safe. Of course, we're in survival mode. We spend our time coping and numbing. We need to reconnect. The trouble is, if we reconnect, we re-experience everything we disconnected from to survive. It's so painful, but it's the only way to build lives that we can actually thrive in for ourselves individually and collectively. This is what I want for everyone. This is what I want for me. So this is what I'm going to read today about. I have a history of severe trauma and abuse, and I have battled my whole life to find myself and to find empowerment. And you know, I didn't even know I'd lost myself and I was living in survival mode. I didn't even know. I've also spent my whole life studying psychology obsessively, figure it all out, you know, trained as a psychotherapist, working in that field, at the same time trying desperately to heal. We don't feel safe to be ourselves, to be present, to be connected, to be alive. So trauma makes us lose ourselves and hide ourselves and disconnect. We're distracted, we're dissociated, and this is not sustainable. This world that we're living in is not sustainable. And I think we should reconnect. I think we need to reconnect. So my poetry is about that today. I'm going to start off with one of my absolute favorites. It's called If I Were Sober. Now, I need to say it's tempting to think sober is about being intoxicated, but for me, it's not. I mean, that's one of the ways we can be not sober. What I mean is exactly what I've just said, you know, being present, being alive, being safe in our bodies, not being triggered, not being in fight or flight, not in obsessive thoughts, what have you. So I wrote this, I think 2019, something like that. And I will introduce some of the poems as I go along, but not all of them. So here goes. If I were sober, I would plant the seeds that would grow the trees I need for when I'm older. For I would know the trees would give me life I've been suppressing. If I were sober, perhaps life wouldn't be so damn depressing. Perhaps I would take the chance to taste the salad leaves, not just the dressing. Perhaps I would recognize when someone loves me and end the second guessing, the maddening testing, relentlessly quieting the jest in me, the resting nest in me, the words that keep caressing me. Perhaps I too can be serene. Perhaps I can even nurse the pest in me. Perhaps I can be nurturing and loving. If I were sober, not worrying or stuffing emotions, nitpicking and handcuffing, encouraging the shoving of my soul away. If I were sober, perhaps I'd see a different day. Perhaps I'd let go and play. Perhaps I'd even choose to stay sober. If I were sober. The next poem is called Know Me. Thank you. And it is about me hiding myself to survive in the world. And this is quite a personal poem for me. Hiding myself, but desperate to be known. Know me. Don't know me. You don't even know me. I push and pull, use my low-level tool, assuming you're the fool who'll never know me. I'm a stranger in disguise, plopped on my heavy throne of complex family ties. You may sift or crack through my carefully crafted demise, but you'll never capture or behold me. No, you'll never even know me. You think my eyes tell lies on lies? Let me tell you, I don't have time for this shit. Don't want you to owe me. I'll refuse your gin, cranberry juice, and tea. Don't try to control me. In this language, I run away readily. Run, run, breathe, and be free. Oh, it's just too painful to be with me. The next poem is called Celebrate Your Weakness. Celebrate your weakness. It's only a label. You are not your weak knees. You are not only pleased by winning. You love that touch of caress when you are shown somebody cares. And it's you who dares to take the risk of failure. So much courage mustered only to be blamed, to be overlooked as you're riddled with shame. Let's turn this plate on its head. Let's say we serve ice and success. Let's see who we are when we're not well fed. I dare you to be yourself. You are not your weakness. You are not speechless in the name of love. You have a heart and it never fails to beat. You're not stale, you're human. And your weakness is mine too. It can only be mine if I deny yours to be true, if I hide myself from you. But my weak knees will give me away. I'm a human too. I'm cold and out of booze. I'm holding on to the story of you that I aspire to, but it's not true. I dare you to be yourself. I dare you to scare yourself with your big ideas, your long breasts and heavy chest. I dare you, because we're all fools. If fear confronts me, grabs me by the throat violently, smacks me across the face, pierces its glaring wide eyes into mine forcefully, will I listen? Will I love it? Holding its tremble with both arms until it settles into telling me how much it's got my back. This is a longer one. If we never dwell into the depths of the darkness, we'll never see the light. Maybe the light feels too bright. To pause and take it in, to believe in it, seems like madness. The very thing man is desperate to escape, is willing to blind himself against, to bask in secrecy and the love he has for it. But he dares not share for his wisdom tells him he'll be ridiculed and shamed, locked up and afraid. Oh, how tempting it is to flee his natural state, to survive in this backwards kind of way. For he knows it will be a level in the nonsensical game he must surpass, endure, till the wave passes again. And each time he is forced to fight against the wave, to come up with creative ways to allow his free will to be taken, washed over by an uncontrollable force beyond his power. The very thing he relies on and drinks from. What a troubled, conflicted man he is. And yet he dares not say to another man, but aren't we going the same way? Take my hand, but agree to it. From a true place that doesn't feel forced to do it. Don't hear me as a command. Let's do it together. But what happens if this man cannot hear him? What if his ears are light as feather? Tame me, says the man. At last he gives in and forgets his mission altogether. Feels directionless, hungry, and insane. He knows he'll never be the same again. Yet he doesn't even know he's lost his way. So he's stuck in the seemingly endless game of repetition, frustration, pretending, caring, not getting any further, any taller, only more afraid. And one day he asks himself, do I have permission to be insane? Am I a fraud? Am I inane? What is life for anyway? When will I ever be whole again? I can't remember, he says, of my past. But I can tell you it wasn't all that bad. For the things I've seen are the things I've never had. And I dare not tell you, I feel glad. Well, that really gives me the shivers. The denial of that. Whew. Okay, we have a few more left. There's something about pistachios. Each piece a different shell to crack. I can choose with my fingers or my teeth, or to throw it out because it abruptly looks like death. If I could crack the riddle of my life, maybe I'd be happy, joyous, and free, as they promise you if you get sober and trust in some higher being. There's something about pistachios. Every shell cracked open, collected in a corner with its pile of residue. An innocent, healthy mess. I somehow enjoy slowly picking up piece by piece to put back into the earth. There's something about pistachios that fulfill me, but not like candy, a short rush that makes me feel like shit and shame and guilt need standing. Something about my life that makes me sick and stuck. I'm too afraid of being afraid. I'm too tired to make it work. Does courage live in a tiny shell that needs cracking open with my teeth or fingernails? What if I don't have nails and my teeth are rotting? Will I ever come out of my shell? Will I be healthy and fulfilling, or lie sadly summoned in a corner, full of different pieces belonging to a whole once, upon a story, before life cracked me open and left my pieces to the side? We don't need your shell anymore. It's done its job and paid its dues. You don't need to be safe anymore. This life is to die for. No one gets out alive. So live for it. Live for you. The sea spits up plastic. It knows what doesn't belong in its belly. Humans eat poison gladly and shit trash into the sea. What if we took the sea as part of us? Would we be moved enough to care? Or would we keep on destroying it? Self-destruct. And wonder why we're ill. All right, the last two. Thank you. I am too deep for you. My words from beneath the sea surface cut directly into your heart, wriggle it around and make you so uncomfortable. You can't bear all the contents inside yourself. Like a woman bearing child. It's unbearable. And yet, she bears. She bears. She holds on tight. She learns to live with it. This living creature disturbing her peace. I am here to disrupt. Disturb your comfort blankets so the bugs come squirming out. Firstly, it needs a wash. And secondly, some forces up there reckon you need a scare. Not to hurt you, but to wake you up. Become yourself. Become. What are you waiting for? What did you come here for? We had agreed, you and I. You had asked me to do this for you, should your amnesia take over and rob you of life. So I'm here to disrupt. And oh, it hurts me so much. I weep and I shout. I hold it all tight. I learn to contain. I air it all out. I try and I fail. But either way, between the cracks of trying and failing, I write. And I'm right. Right on the money when I speak to your heart. Okay, last poem. Thank you. Suppose you had bones that would rip through your clothes. Suppose you had weights that would drop your arms off. Suppose you didn't want your body to take care of you anymore. What would you become? Who would you call to in your despair? Desperate to crawl out. Suppose you chose to take layers off to expose your weakness and dance around naked. Suppose you chose to accept yourself just as you are now. Unfinished, incompetent, indefinite, undefined. Suppose you had a choice to become anything you ever dreamt of. Suppose you had the courage to claim it in your heart, then wildly, loudly, with no confusion or accent, no caveats or cavities, only big, bold, and certain, focused on your goal, so madly that they thought you were crazy. And suppose you chose to accept that without a fight. Thank you so much.
Everyone, please unmute and thank Sarvin for her wonderful
You, Sarvin, that was
performance.
gorgeous.
Thank you.
Bravo. Bravo.
Amazing.
Wonderful.
Bravo,
Amazing.
beautiful,
Amazing.
beautiful,
Very beautiful, very
amazing.
amazing, very
Lovely.
moving,
Lovely.
extremely moving.
awesome.
So deep. I learned so much about layers that I have. It was so good. Oh, and the interconnectedness that we all feel. I definitely got chills listening to you like you did reading. So I think that was a wonderful and transformative thing. I really appreciate you bringing that experience to us today. That's just a lovely gift. And thank you.
Thank you for having me, Amy. I'm glad it stirred something.
It did. And please read your chat notes. A
I
lovely
will.
chat as well. Thank you. Okay, first on the open mic, we have Mona Zamfirescu.
Thank you, Amy. And thank you, Sarvin, for your set, a very powerful and moving. Thanks again. I have a couple of poems. I might have read them in other places, so I apologize if you've heard them before. Where I go, you can't follow. The blue heron, its wings wide like an open book, elegant and sharp in its circular flight above me. Deeper into the marshes, I did not believe, nor did I understand. My arms strained, I paddle forward. I follow him patient and ready, the waters quieter than my breath. Where I go, you can't follow. Cormorants, too, lean in, the waters still before their takeoff. The woods green with a blackbird's song, she flew by like an arrow. Where I go, you can't follow. I hear them whisper, I stop and feel my arms. Slow heartbeats echo my longing. The forest chatter bright in the midday light. I did not believe, nor did I understand. Fallen trees raise branches above water like arms in prayer. No, not a lament. Where I go, you can't follow. My arms strained, harsh on my skin, the sun burns, the forest cool and green at last. On the rocky path, now barefoot and wet, I feel every edge, solid and urgent. I carry my wares beyond sorrow. Finally, I understand. Where I go, you can't follow. And the other poem I wrote for my son was a year ago, just today, to the day, has become a soldier. So I visited with him in Oklahoma at Fort Sill. Up where the buffalo still roam, the road circles up the mountain. The great plains stretch wildly in the distance. Here, fading, the sound of shells. The buzzards out for fresh kill. No matter. Out in Fort Sill, one knows. In Fort Sill, one looks up the heavens between drills, biblically. Climbing the ladder is no small matter, he said. I'm here to stay. Not here, but stay. Look how the sun is always about to set in Oklahoma, biblically. Like wildflowers turn their heads. On each side of the road, the blooming meadows, radiant and alive. Graves of all kinds line the valley. Come, mother. I will show you the mountain up where the buffalo still roam. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Such beautiful detail, wonderful landscape, so vivid, So well done. Thank you. Very deep and moving. Thank you. Next, we have Laura Grevel.
Thank you, Amy. Beautiful start with Sarvin and Mona. Thank you so much. And I will read two pieces. The first, it's hard to say what they think of me. They've never asked where I'd like to be, nor whom I'd like to represent. I've never been given a vote. I've been folded and left in drawers and attics with moths and mice, or taped across teenagers' walls. I've been slit up and burnt, or used to patch their pants. They hoist me high most days. I've held on tight above cemeteries and banks, ships and schools. They salute me and promise me the world. But I am left alone to be whipped by the wind or to hang limp and forgotten in cold and heat. I have been used as a symbol of their vanities, anger, and dreams. So that, I still haven't titled it, but it's the flag, of course. The next piece is called In the In-Between, a newer piece I'm working on. In the in-between our souls and us, how are you doing? I've been on the bus, the train, with a young woman with searching eyes, old man, one club foot, a cane, two young refugees looking for a name. There's a rhythm to the revolutions, the convolutions of soul and sad in the in-between. I'm coming through the waters. Keeping up with bureaucracies makes you want to run down the river to the sea, where there's an end to this world's possibilities. In the in-between, the bus rumbles on. The children wait for a ride, white, black, brown, tired. There's a rhythm in the distance. There's a stain on the lip. Stick out the tongue to keep it from tripping in the in-between. I feel more at home when I'm on the road, a foreign piazza, a tree I don't know, standing in Brooklyn or a canal in a nameless town. Atlanta's got class and peaches to last and can provide in the in-between, talking to women in wigs, on buses, in touches. The names will change, but the eyes are the same. There's a rhythm in the distance. There's a light with right in the in-between, the exchange, the liminal space between wallpaper and labor, the farm and the city, where once I lived, feeling lost and pretty. Then as a farmer was working, my family moping with a hope and a prayer we'd get tired of that air. In the in-between, the cars keep coming from east and west. The Russians are coming before we get dressed. Luda's headed here while the French drive best. To the sea for respite in spite of the stink, the highway an infernal internal link. The Germans drive south, the Italians north. The Czechs take a plane to chase in between. The in-between can't drive there, though some cultures try. Will they ever arrive between me and my, between sane and inane, between peace and war? There's a rhythm in the distance. Take the door to the side of this wall, the in-between, the reflection of the soul, the reflections in the mirror. Stay awake through the night till you abhor the light. Call out for the God who will bring you back home, a place that once existed, now is rented out. to the enlisted students of time who still beat with the rules of their hands, the gophers of lands that builds dictate with syntax, in the in-between, the rhythm, in the distance, here and there we dance the tango with the bus and the train, waiting and waiting for the end station's name. Thank you very much.
Wow, brilliant, brilliant. The reality and trying to walk through it, feel through it, the metaphors, the description, just amazing. Thank you so much. As always, thank you. Lucia Daramus.
Hi.
Hi. Let me allow you to share screen just a second.
No, 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 no,
Oh, you
no,
don't
no.
need to do that? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This time I will read one poem about Sabina Spielrein. Sabina Spielrein was the first female psychotherapist for children. Yes, and her story is in my poem. Sabina Speaks by Lucia Daramus. It's speaking Sabina. My name is Sabina Spielrein. Someday I was young, born in Rostov-on-Don, a shiny city in Russia, with flowers and white cathedral in white color, like a beautiful bride. That time I was very delicate and sensitive child. I was the first of 5 children, and my mind was too bright with new and old languages, playing piano and singing in Yiddish, and studying Kabbalah with my grandfather, a rabbi. But in my house, in my family, I remember, never I was happy. My father, now I understood, abused me, and also forced me to endure an extremely harsh upbringing, tyrannized us. My mother beat us severely. My only single friend was my sister, but she died by typhoid, dead in my brain. My father punished and abused in my brain. My mother beating in my brain. My brain, my brain started to hear voices and suicide, and my sister cemetery with stones in memory style. At 17 years old, I was admitted in psychiatric care unit in Zurich. My doctor was Dr. Jung and Professor Bleuler. They had opposite direction regarding me, my mind. I felt deeply in love with Dr. Jung during my treatment. He loved me. He was more important than my father. He was my lover, carer, who gave me to keep his soul. He deplored me when I was hospitalized patient, but he was more important than my father. My father, my mother, punished in my brain, and cemetery of my sister, my delicate and fragile sister. But again I remember 1904, full year of love and care with Dr. Jung. He loved me years and years. Also, after I was discharged, and because my mind was curious, I was admitted to university. No friends, only that time my Professor Jung. I was only a child, and he loved me as a child, so young and brittle, but again frail and unsecure. A scandal, a huge and large scandal in Zurich and Vienna about us. That time, to save his marriage and career, my lover Jung and Professor Freud plotted against me. I was only a woman, a young woman alone in the world. deflowered by Jung at 17 years old. I wanted to die. I was so confused in my mind. Again, my mind. My man who kissed me, my doctor who gave me to keep his soul, plotted against me. Injustice against of a woman. My name is Sabina Spillerain. You, if you listen to this, and if you are a woman, your name can be Sabina. I wanted to die, but let me speak. I will say you another story, no more different by my story. I am a prophet. Now Sabina speaks, for coming years, but over years, a young lady will cross the same story. Her name is Lux Lucis, and now beyond her grave, Lucia speaks. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing in such a deep level and teaching us about the psychotherapist you were talking about for children. Just beautifully performed, very delicate and vulnerable, and I really appreciate you being here. Thank
Thank you.
you. Oh, you're welcome. Susanne West. Need to unmute. Can't hear you. No worries.
I'm sorry. I'm just expressing what a really powerful morning this is. Okay, I'm just going to start with a little, a micro poem called Dark Welcome. Don't rush me to the light. I need to soak in my tears in the mothering darkness. And I have two here. Oh. Okay. Called One Word. Every ache, every whimper from my dear small one's being, the one who lives in the deep, whose heart cries and shines. I hear every spoken, unspoken pain in her body, in her mind. Pale now, still, very still. Corners of her mouth turned down. No pep in her step, says her daddy. Voice trembling, needing to fold into the warm spots of mommy's body, unaware of her mommy's tears, or perhaps very aware of her mommy's tears. I'm tempted to rush my sorrow and fear to the light, as I tried to do in my light-chasing days. A spiritual bypasser. The sacred is everything, though. Light, dark, birth, death. The sacred is a grandmother's burning heart, shivers at 3 a.m., nightmares hovering, images of horrible outcomes stuck in the trauma grooves in my brain, tears on the poems strewn all over my bed. Words that bow, words that celebrate, and the ones that bleed and moan. I bow to all, light, dark, birth, death, one word. Okay. And this other one is called Returned. Wishing for it, my wily tendrils sneak away from here, seek something shiny, something sweet, something sexy, some sensational gasm, make me into a shooting star, then another. Quiet. Sometimes they snake around the scaffolding of I, then define me. Woman with snaky tendrils she cannot control, clamoring for more. Woman with her ancestors' destiny. Woman doomed to repeat. Sick at it. Quiet. I could, no, I will remember the angel of Is. She is here as I speak her name. A breath of wind brushes across my cheek. Now a crow on the spindly branch outside my window, eyeballing me, dances wild to secure footing, perhaps. Her announcing of isness, loud, potent black crow glow, cavorting, happens to leave when I get the point. Quiet. Tendrils curl now into gray, wormy carcasses, become a mound of light dust on my carpet. Returned. Here I am. What is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, so moving and deep. I'm not a mother, but I'm learning through you what it must be like, and I can only imagine. And I'm learning through your poetry. But as a person, the presentness and the beingness, I just really appreciate you sharing your journey with us. Thank you. Ian McKenzie, are you here? I didn't see him. Maybe he's here. Eike Waltz.
Thank you, Sarvin of Afarinesh. On a great presentation, thank you. It's the Italian echo, E-C-C-O, I'm interested on. And Hollywood served spaghetti alla Western. And echo roughly means here or there. But eccomi means here I am. Eccomi, eccomi, eccomi. I was born without a kiss. I grew up without a kiss, nothing I did not miss. Shell-shocked inside the morbid, deadly reality of brutal commands. Yes, sir, black boots, shock and awe, called a loser's loss. I wore. I joined up with Jeanne d'Arc, protected her with salty peanuts, sweet popcorn, and warm Coke, until I ran out of tears, wetting my potato sack pants. I whistle the tune, echo, echo, echo me. Later in these years, I escaped into rock and roll and movies galore, where I got a surprising stiff, living my first kiss, Hollywood, smoochy style it is. I whistled Clint Eastwood's haunting tune again, and catcalling I learned just the same. Echo, echo. First I did not know what to make of it. Yes, such was my innocence, now educated by Hollywood's sterile lines, where I repeated what was good, where I followed the curse of being bad, where I was surprised by the taste of my first Hollywood fuck. Echo, echo, echo. I mimicked phony tears and tin can laughter. Echo, proudly I killed you with a single shot, whilst my ancient tree spits its rugged bark. Do you remember? I'm here. I whistle the tune, echo, 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 echo me, and I discarded the countless dead I had shot so carelessly. It was such a boring lot. Echo, echo me, and here I am, uneducated, a pagan, a broken, happy man. And I believed in it all. I plagiarized behavior. I played every major role. I was the hero on that every time, just for a moment, and that was so for minutes, an extra's best line. Echo, echo me. I never asked why. Propped up old men seduced teenage girls. I always wondered why. Leaving me, the jealous fool, time spitted me, rendering me naive, too young. I whistled that sexy tune, echo me. But I had my affairs, yes, proudly, even nobody cared. Echo, 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 I made love to Bebe, Gina Nazionale, Marilyn Monroe, Sophia Loren, Raquel Welch, Dionne Warwick, and many, many starlets more. Echo me, I whistled our arousing tune, echo me. It was I, yes, it was I who kissed them all. Kissed them all, echo. Reality otherwise much too boring, much too grey, and other opportunities simply did not care. But at me, there did stare. I just looked away. Echo, echo. Once I whistled any tune, and life took my breath away. Here came the day that I met you. Wow, pretty and smart, and in no time all my former lovers vanished, pissed off, or even died. Now lonely members of Hollywood's aging broken heart club, eccoli finalmente arrivati, meaning they're here, they are finally here. Ciao, baby. Goodbye. Ecco. Thank you.
Please unmute. That was so amazing. The the programming and the tasting of life through movies and then the contrast. But just that was amazing, brilliant. Thank you so much, Ike. Oh my gosh, thank you. Now we have Anjie Williams.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Hey everyone, I got two shorties. The first one is called The Doorway. As I stand in the doorway of yesteryear, the voices of the past echo loudly, calling me to remember the days of yesteryear, seeing all my loved ones once again, walking through the door of time, feeling the wind rush past me as I watch all the forgotten thoughts appear. It's the good days and the bad days that no longer look bad. It's the relaxing reflection of me. The journey through yesteryear freed me mentally and physically. Now I can enjoy the journey back to me, here to the here and now, never to visit yesteryear again. And the next one it's called Me and the Family. It's the weekend and everything's right. The family's trickling in with the Gap band blasting on the speaker. The teens are dancing in the street. The grills all fired up and the smoke of the barbecue blanket the neighborhood while the chicken and the hot dogs laying back chilling. Got cold beer and drinks in the cooler. Can't wait to taste the watermelon. The kids are playing while mama and me are in the kitchen cooking potato salad, baked beans, coleslaw, Hawaiian rolls. Man, we eating good. The grands are playing spades with the aunts and uncles. Guess who's winning? It's gonna be an awesome Memorial Day weekend. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That's such a joyous memory that you're sharing with us, all the joyous
Amy, you're
memories.
muted.
Oh, no? Wait. Is that better? Can you hear me? No? Yes? Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Angie. That was a wonderful experience. Thank you. Christine Dickinson.
Hi there. I went for some healing time in the garden today, and although I've read this one before, maybe 2 years ago here, I had to read it today because this is a walk round the garden in my old house. I hope my new garden will be like this soon. I forget plant names. Let me take you, no, not by the hand, not yet, if you don't mind, to breathe honeysuckle with twists of rose, 20 steps front to back, past this open gate into our home ground. We'll pick a path round the tubs, past their best though, geraniums still glow red, berries pop through pink frills clinging to fuchsia bells, dry fronds trail purple-tailed petunias, pansies peer, yellow-eyed under daisies. This lemon mint crops up everywhere. The plants need pruning, cruel though it sounds, and it is the end for French beans, though the beginning for me today. Bent round canes, resisting gales, clambering the bay tree, brushing out woody scents across wet grass. The best we've tasted, mutters my sister. She has the green fingers, owner of 2 greenhouses, hewer with spade and hoe, nurturer of seeds, artist of clay pots. She knew about growth from birth, like mother, bedding out these bargain bushes, 5 bought for £1, thriving after 4 decades. Our first courgette or zucchini, sorry, I've lost, a gift, bristle stems, rhubarb thick, spike leaves grocers, dinner plates. Vivifew, sprouts where the lettuce bolted, just like the rocket, where my back was turned. Tangles of tomatoes blush easily sprawled across the south wall on rope supports. The cox's windfalls go for a blackbird's song long before they've turned to compost. Maggots burrowed to the heart of everyone. Pigeons seesaw the wisteria arch, swinging on seed feeders, slapstick comics, crash landing a perch for bird table raids. Are you, shades a terrace, a mushroom shape, pocked with sparrows meeting for lunch, trilling in the dusk of ritual watering? The tree defends neighbourly views, has done since the house was young. The centenary might have passed it by. It shields the Juneberry seasons of copper gold, the unfurled grey of feathered leaves, the bursts of white stars. We are done with Lollo Rosso and chives, rosemary, thyme and lavender might lift the winter. The strawberries root for soil, waving tendrils, feeding sweet hope for June. I forget plant names, not their origin, the cuttings, seeds saved, roots from old homes, memorials to friends, our marks on earth. And here is the pump, fed by a well, rainwater underground. Sit here on this bench, join me for tea. We'll talk of friends, children, your labours. We will not discuss politics, We won't give weather the time of day. Thank you.
Delightful, absolutely delightful. The textures, and I was saying your alliteration, imagery, just you're there. And I love gardening too, as you well know. So I'm just like eating that up. And just taking care of all these creatures. They're so lovely. And I like that one plant did something behind your back. It's funny because it's always changing. So thank you so much. It was wonderful. Now we have Joy Johnson.
Me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just completely not prepared, but I'm just going to read some super recent stuff that I've written in my latest little spate of, following a little course of here's your prompt, write something. This one is a sonnet. It's called Stronghold. I like to think it's a little bit EE comics, a little bit. You beheld, not knowing impossible I was not for viewing, my citadel, or so I inside my head monocle drew just so picture, open, literal, breezy refuge for one, nothing wanting. Ignorant as I was of the joy of joining, a joining no one was bonding enough, I thinking my soul sequoia. It seems I had me in a dark dungeon, not feeling sea breezes, only stale air, because you found my door, and with pom-pom and circumstance, light came in frightening. I, a blind Rochester, you, my Jane Eyre. Hard to accustom to this gyre widening. Thank you. Here's one about it's about the plight of women, but I just had to write it that way. I know a lot of people are in here, but it just I had to make it specifically about women. Men, please do not take this too personally. If you hear something you understand, it's because you're understanding. Good? Fair enough. And I don't know what this form is called, but it's something. It's called anteroom. Women never do get in while they do all the work of keeping the lives running. Laundry piles, suppers cooked. Women bend and scrub and wait. All the world praises man. Women try to stand up straight, stopped ears and la-la-lying. You know what I'm talking about. This one is called degrowth. Again, it's a form, I can't remember what form it is, but anyway, here we go. Where shall we go when there is only more of here? Where shall we go when every answer is a no and needed change never gets near? When all that's good dissolves in fear, where shall we go? Let's make a way to keep each other's spirits up. Let's make a way to sit in place for one more day and contemplate the searing sun, to burn less fuel, to stay at home. Let's make a way. Kind of all over the place with these guys. Okay, I'll read this one. Can I do another one? Okay. This is called expectation. Forever and ever until I die is just the sort of promise sets up for defeat. It takes an enormous blind eye to pretend nothing's changed, clued out none more than romantic optimists who will not admit to the world of possibility. I believe in love and even marriage. I have also been caught making plans around some willed symmetry. But a lot of us sit midst that carnage. Is the original sin a harboring of the unrealistic expectation? This precious globe, our home, does bear this brunt of man's absurd idea that he can use resources as if they were an infinite account for daddy's favorite girl, values that this magnificent mother planet has so far overlooked. But the checkbook is bedraggled and mighty slim. Now's time. Be pulled by her magnet and realize shoes on the other foot. Is man capable of reason and rhyme? Thank you.
Oh my God, so good, so good. And I love the way you edit your stuff so sharply into the form. Every line is like, oh, what is so good. Thank you. Thank you. Now we have, oh, Leslie's not here. Okay. Now we have Phynne-Belle.
Thank you so much, Amy. And I just wanted to say how thrilled I am to be able to experience Sarvin's poetry again, specifically why I was here in the first place. All right, so the want to share a slightly older one and perhaps a newer one. This older one is called Almonds, and a little bit of a trigger warning for some hints of child grooming. In the dream, she said softly, I don't know what this is. You love me today. Where should I look? In the alcove, the people stir. Beneath plaster, they mouth the same words that they hear, patiently echoed back to them when they press cheeks to cool damp walls. Their ears have mossed over. They listen only to what they could bear to hold, and I'm here, here, and here. All the rooms know my name, hang my blouse in their sunken treasure closets. The mirrors say hello, but only when they are facing you. They have hands in reverse of mine, in reverse of time, and speak amongst themselves behind palms about me. In twist trunk witches rhyme, they hum. There's a girl who's dancing. She pirouettes in bright crimson shoes. She is twirling herself merrily to her grave. They cannot recall the last line. There is a lone man holding up the cellar ceiling, drinking up the aged wine at his leisure by cask and row. We stay still. We stay unnoticed and can feel his thumb flick at fragrant corks like they were stale air, caress bottles into becoming tender young bodies. We make playtime of sealing him in, brick by brick, a mud pie makeshift tomb. He will never come calling again, tapping at our bedroom door, but sometimes errant night terrors, he slips under the bed, steals under the covers. Darling, hush. My organs float in an old jam jar. I line them up tidy on the cheery kitchen counter. I feed each one full round almond a day. To keep them gorged by their silence, the moon tries to creep in through the cracks made wide in the window pane by the sun, leaving home. She bathes the pale figurines in rotation, freezes their faces in perpetual astonishment, leaves a trail of moon dust for us to find in the morning light. I awaken at noon to find the jam jars agitated, the organs regurgitated upon the blue-gray earthen floor. The almonds have rotted into vinegar-soaked stones waiting to be devoured by the jovial flushed man below ground. The next one is titled A Depiction of You and Me. I was so happy to attend this workshop where they had us do a revision. It was a revision workshop to do a revision on a slightly older poem of ours, and you were with your peers, and it was just really great. So they helped me reform this one. A depiction of you and me. Capturing our accurate likeness is a two-dimensional practice of patience, is art of finding I will not ever get the perspective right. We will not be perfect, even by trial and error. Committing our black and white rendered shapes to paper is drawing an ever-thinning line from me, anxiety pacing ever forward, reaching toward you. You remain standing, and you, stillness seeks and finds its ideal model burrowed in what you've tucked away for safekeeping. The line fast finds it is not precise path leading to you. It disperses its direction, crawls over our new crisp page, bears down, gas-pedaled pencil, consumes the page, sputters, loses its graphite nerve and skips, stopping short. My sure hand leaps our black off the page. Drafts are now called finished work. Still life studies always occur from far away. Here, an easing of breath. In this version, see me smiling wide. In that one, the left half of your face curves to join the shadows. I marvel at how obscene, how clean, how pristine our likeness appears. Guilt injected by association. No one ever looks that close at a depiction of real life on full display, but still they would claim they had dinner last night with a starving artist. Everyone is an art aficionado. If you meet them in the great hall at the appointed hour, everyone wants to be an art critic, son, bon vivant. In this version, observe me tilts my head up to capture the fading light. You are in this impression. If one squints the eye there, see? You cling to the blurred edges. An observant soul passes by, remarks on the dry cracks of my Bristol board. The fissures appeared on purpose. And I think that's my time, so I'm just going to stop there. Thanks so much.
Wow, so deep and mind-bending, and you have to hold on for the journey. The second one was like a fiery journey through the poem. I mean, it's like holding on. Wonderfully vivid. Thank you so much. Thank you. Catalina George. Richard Harry Snow. Clive Oseman.
That must be me then.
Yes.
Okay, as ever, nothing too serious from me. I'm going to do a piece of flash fiction, very surreal or absurd or whatever you want to call it, and then a couple of my infamous Amazon reviews, 2 recent ones. So the first one, the piece of flash fiction, which is a bit different. It's called Uncle Wesley. I always thought there was something weird about my Uncle Wesley, but couldn't quite put my finger on it. Not that I would want to put my finger on anything to do with him. I may catch his nasty side. But it baffled me that he freaked me out and I didn't know why. Some people would have been taken aback that he wore a saucepan on his head when he went out, with the handle always pointing southwest. It always amused me that he had to adjust the saucepan if he turned a corner or looked around to see what was behind him. I never really understood the southwest thing. It did try to explain it to me once, but I got lost at the bit about evil spirits in Devon. But the saucepan kind of suited him, and he got used to being told to go boil his head by people who couldn't come up with anything more original. I only realised what it was that was weird about him when he gave me some paint for my 18th birthday and told me to put it on my teeth. All those years, he'd had bright red teeth, and I'd been focusing on his saucepan. He said the paint was a tradition passed down by his father to stand out from the crowd. If he wanted to stand out, I don't understand why he ruined the effect by putting a saucepan on his head, but then logic was never a strong point on his side of the family. His sister once gave someone £100 in real money for £50 in Monopoly money because she saw a house for sale in Old Kent Road. But enough about my eccentric relatives. You want to know what makes me tick, don't you? Well, I once shoved an old-fashioned alarm clock up my bum, which worked for a while, but it was a little uncomfortable when I sat down, so I was glad when it stopped. I know you think I'm mad, but is it any wonder with a family like that? My dad was just as bad. He was an introvert and didn't want to stand out, so he tipexed his teeth. And he was considered the bright one of the family. Alas, his attempt at anonymity resulted in bluebirds mistaking his teeth for the white cliffs of Dover and dive-bombing his mouth. Which wasn't what he wanted. I've got my own way now and completely cut myself off from the family. I live in a bungalow in Devon, and I can't get it out of my head that Uncle Wesley's saucepan handle is pointing the evil spirits in my direction. I never believed in such mumbo-jumbo, but now I feel the need to have him robbed out. Perhaps he was onto something after all. So, then the latest Amazon reviews. This one's a few weeks old, but I don't think many of you here have heard it. So this was for a pair of tweezers. And this is actually live. Both of these are actually live on Amazon now as reviews for products that I haven't really bought, but hey ho. So this is for a pair of tweezers, and this is exactly as it's worded. These are fine tweezers and excellent value for money. I hope they win some sort of award. I was reluctant to buy tweezers because I didn't believe they worked. A friend of mine who used to work in the tweezer industry told me that they were the most overrated items on the market and didn't actually work. Eventually, my great-granddaughter said I needed tweezers in my life because I was getting old. She bought me these for my 107th birthday, and now I know my friend, who died in 1963, God rest his soul, was either a liar or was maybe making unlicensed tweezers and they killed him. There were some suspicious circumstances and some say he was tweezed to death. But these tweezers are perfect. They do just the right amount of tweezing for a man of my age without tiring me out or making me lose control of my bladder. I am very pleased with my tweezers and I hope they outlive me because I would be very sad to be without them now. I think we would have won the war by 1943 if we'd had these tweezers. They are that good. And stainless steel too. Wonderful. And the latest one, which is less than a week old, and it is live on Facebook now, and Amazon. And again, I don't know why anybody would actually buy this stuff from Amazon, but there you go. And this is for a 5-pack of Colgate Cool Stripe toothpaste. I bought this toothpaste without much expectation, to be honest. I always thought toothpaste was toothpaste, and as long as you used it properly, you would keep all your teeth until you're at least 35. I've even known people as old as 40 with most of their teeth. But they were typical boring old people who thought nothing was as good as the old days, so didn't eat today's inferior chocolate and were too miserable to buy birthday or Christmas presents, so didn't have to risk using their teeth to cut sellotape. However, this toothpaste is different. It really does do what it says on the pump. And for the first time in my life, I have a cool stripe running across my teeth. Last week, my partner had a fever. She rested her forehead against my protruding front teeth, and bingo, she not only felt better, but smelled beautifully minty. I am now setting up a private clinic for people with fevers who want to smell like mint imperials. I never thought a humble tube of toothpaste would change my life, but I have already healed 17 flu sufferers, 6 cases of COVID, and a hypochondriac with a tooth fetish. I am known locally as the Minty Messiah. Thank you. And that is actually on the Colgate toothpaste as a review, with 5 stars, of course.
Of course. Still laughing. Oh my God, that's so funny. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
We needed that. Okay, let's see. Jeffrey Bryant.
Hi, thank you very much. What a wonderful afternoon this has been. Thank you, Sarvin, for some beautiful, powerful poetry earlier, and everyone else for your work. Thank you. I have 2 real quick ones here. Lost between genders. I got lost between genders, inside out of them. Which one was correct? Which one you were? Shopping together for anything that fit. Outside the lines, we find gender anything but neutral. If you hadn't shown me what people are wearing these days, or where I'm supposed to put what body part, I would have been free range and feral, wandering, hunting, catching scents, biting first, forgetting questions later, surrendering my body without classroom instruction. I found a textbook and set it alight, the one with breeding instructions, the one with the word normal in bold, the one with artist renderings of where I'm bound to go if I say yes to all your openings. I rub my hands into yours over the flame, over embers of gender crispy curling. Look into your dancing wet eyes and leap into the glorious warm sin rippling in the deep blue ends. Thank you. That's the first one. The second poem is called Thank You for Sending Me an Angel. In the Department of Final Wishes, Diotima, Socrates' teacher of desire, with fingers of divine pedigree, sculpted my requested angel winged, so aerodynamically libidinous for deep canyon dives and the release inside of me, all created by this anointress of arrows, weaver of silk and lust in lavender nightfalls. She heard my wish upon a star and placed him here before me. Her hands rest protectively upon our heads as this angel and I caress away my final love. Breath exchanged between us, our adjectives stretched into moans, crossing our bridge of tongues. He pulls his lips away from mine and prepares his wings for my flight home with all the old familiar precautions. Firmly grasp my eternal flesh. I'll keep you in the upright position. You will become a flotation device. In the event of an emergency, take a deep breath and look into my custom-made eyes. Gripping upon my final wish, we rise, a naked whirlwind, vanishing into bodiless grace, leaving a memory floating cosmospherically behind that breaks apart in teardrop shapes. Thank you.
That was transcendent and sensual and beautiful and gorgeous, as someone said in the chat. Just lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nina Adel.
Hi, I want to say, Sarvin, thank you so much. That was wonderful to hear that amazing set of yours. Great. I am going to read, lately I've really been working a lot with prose poems, but then I started working with haiku, which is something that never called my attention that much before. So, but I've been writing a lot of them and it cycles too. I'm going to just read one short one of those and then I'm going to read a prose poem. So this haiku is called Insomnia. Sleep stolen by fear that the weight of all this love will crush my bird bones. So that's the haiku. And this prose poem is called Religion. Oops. It ran away from me. Give me a moment. Here we go. Religion. On the bench outside the hospital, your arm tentative around my back, you spoke tenderness. I heard it like a question. Is this tenderness? Like you weren't sure. I wasn't either. I didn't know you. Fingers reached for the dragonfly around my neck, and while it's true they're frequent amongst my images, they weren't a certain symbol, didn't hold some idea of God or magic. I have no idea of God. I have no success with magic. Later on, I sat sinking into the soft leather chair of my sanctuary, dark teal like my necklace, the phone to my ear, and you told me about that time you saw a swarm of dragonflies vanish in little bursts until there was only one, until that one too was gone. You were in the army then, sitting in a plane, I think you said. Lately, every man I've met was in his youth in the army. I have never held tolerance for guns, for men in lines, rigid in their stance, wearing scratchy, matching clothes, jaws tight, performing for some tough commander. Lately, every man I've spoken to was unsure about the meaning of tenderness, of his own symbols, of his vanishing dragonflies or cattails. Let's talk about cattails. Weeks went by, and then you sat on the edge of my bed before sex, telling me your God would not let you. And I'm sorry, that was preposterous. Women always say we're sorry. You were there for something like that, for tenderness, which you couldn't recognize, for sex, which you couldn't admit, even as you undertook to achieve it. You glanced over at the assemblage on my desk. In a blown glass vase with stems of dried flowers, brittle and spiky, were the cattails gathered by my elderly aunt last summer as she emerged one afternoon from the cocoon of old age she shelters in. Jumping up and out of the car, she'd cut them so deftly, knowing the marsh was my childhood playground, wanting to gift me something, wanting to be alive again, if only for an afternoon of cheeseburgers and mellow mint sundaes at the Kilties Drive-In, in the scent of the lakes and things that still hold seeds and grow wild. Later, we coated them with hairspray from an old bottle in the back of the bathroom cabinet to preserve them. There they were on my desk, and one, just one, had ruptured, had jumped the coat of hairspray and begun to biodegrade at the base of the others. Look at that, you said, how odd. Only one of them has turned to fluff. And as you unbuttoned my dress, pressed your long fingers into the small of my back, ignored your God, you told me how you and Rosetta, 2 years younger, used to wander into marshes, gathering cattails of your own together, how cattails too are a symbol of your childhood and perhaps mine. Maybe your God would forgive you the unbuttoning, the nakedness, the sweat, your mouth, if you started with your childhood. That's it.
Wow. Wow. I'm just speechless, Sadie. There's so much in there, so real and so vibrant in the moment. So well crafted. Thank you. Thank you. Now we have Brian Daly.
This is kind of depressing. Everybody's good. This one is called Second Christmas, Same Tree. We're living through a second Christmas with this midget tree from Whole Foods, a package deal where it comes lodged upright in a red plastic doggy bowl. Surprise, it's a real tree, but a mere 3 feet tall. And as you'd expect from such a fine retailer, elegantly proportioned. As the weeks roll by, it squats content on a side table in the dining room, evergreen, responding like a champ to TLC, water, from its master's hands. Come spring, the tree remained stout. By summer, it seemed to defy the rules of longevity, sucking glassfuls of H2O up the brown fuse. By fall, it's hard not to feel the absurdity of its existence. How can it be this tree outlives its fellows by 11 months? What drives it to soldier on? Are we just too cool and fun to be around? In 11 days, the tree presides over Christmas a second time, giving us in return for our watery gifts, the gift of reminding us we too might hang on well past the expiration date. Each time we refill the bowl, it lives another week, naked, but for one lone ornament at the peak, a geisha girl from the land of the rising sun. Its needles at last start tinging brown. How many of them has it surrendered in 365 days? I could count on two hands. The thing is dying, but it won't die. The end. Okay, one more. Any death in this one? I don't think so. Not really. This is called You Can't Tell a Book. Mr. Glinsky, Jenny Glinsky's pop, owned a mom and pop drugstore in the 60s called Glinsky's. Gleaning from chats over the counter with Dad that his boy reads like a maniac, he'd drop off a box of yellowish paperbacks at the house every month or two as a gift. 50 books at a time thumped onto our front porch for retrieval. My job was to drag them inside. See, Mr. Glinsky's old-fashioned drugstore featured, along with a soda fountain, 3 or 4 wire racks full of paperbacks. To prove he'd failed to sell a book and thus shouldn't be done for the cost, his distributor required him to rip off the cover and title page of any books that went begging, then mail the covers back. The idea being, what crazy person would buy a book just for the content? A teenage snob, I had little to no interest in the sort of books Mr. Glinsky stocked. He was all Hardy Boys, while I was all Brothers Karamazov. But I never found enough heart to make him hold his fire. Of books I glanced at, their spines cracked and caked with dried glue, only a few held my eye for more than a page or two. But for obvious reasons, I'll be damned if I remember their titles or authors. Belated thanks, Mr. Glinsky, for thinking of me. But if these free chapbooks don't sell, I'll thumb my nose at the distributor, sign their title pages before mailing them out, and leave all those pretty covers attached. The end. Thank you.
So very clever. And thank you for bringing mirth to us. And also the story of the tree and the story of the soda shop. That was really good. Thank you. Good memories. Lloyd Hanna.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in a bit of a mood today. So please bear with me. Okay. There are Argentine ants living under a forest that stretches from Italy to Portugal, working together to protect their roots. And they are considered pests as an invasive species, but they wouldn't be in Europe if some Europeans hadn't invaded their country first. And those Argentine ants are pulling together to reclaim what was taken from them and thrive in a hostile environment, to survive being imported and not get killed by neighborhood, kind of like killer bees that are following roads north from all over the American Southwest in an effort to pick up the pieces of failed experiments and find some place in the universe. Are killer whales really attacking ships in the Mediterranean, or are they just making a statement? Maybe they are daring anyone to ask them for their papers, or to try and stop them from immigrating like they've done for undocumented generations. Maybe they are trying as hard as they fucking can to get our attention, to illustrate how quickly we can go from smooth sailing to treading water, how any one of us could need saving, even if we don't look like we're going under. It's only when we're in the water that we realize how vulnerable we are, how when we are in inhospitable environments, the gloves come off, and survival is at survival's cost. Those who can will cry, like flotsam on seas of ambivalence. Those who can't might cry with their fists, unless they learn to live to fight another way. Those who survive will try to reclaim what was lost by redefining the boundaries of their existence and attempting to thrive while and after facing death, as too many will do in this life, like survivors did during the Dark Ages.
Did you have another? Can't hear you. I'm sorry.
How am I? Can you hear me now? How am
Yes.
I on? How am I on time? Can I do
Can you
another?
do a one medium sized poem?
One medium size. Okay. Hang on. Just give me half a moment here.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay. Let's try this one. All right, here we go. The last one, by the way, was called Check the Temperature. This one is called A Cold War. I grew up thinking I was gonna die soon. It was inevitable. There would never be enough duck and cover. They were gonna kill us, or we would kill them. A bomb would come and the sun would get cut off in a nuclear holocaust. Now plastic trash covers everything. There's even microplastics in our bloodstreams. There's even microplastics in the food we eat. Missiles and money are not the only things that make fools of everyone. When will we realize how small this tiny blue island is and how much of it is precious? So sorry to bother you, but did you realize that we are losing at evolution? Humans have been in retrograde since the beginning of the last ice age, when we started taking things for granted, or maybe we just externalized control of our world to the latest god and forgot that we change the world when we change ourselves. Primitive people moved around because they realized that when we live too long in one place, we poison the earth. And no matter how hard we try to contrive ourselves, we still haven't learned how to handle our own toxins. I was abandoned here by alien gypsies. That's why none of this shit makes any sense to me. We glorify hustlers who hoard more money than any happy person could ever need and ignore all the starving masses who pay for the greed. We all join in because we have Stockholm syndrome, somehow thinking we could reach that brass ring if we just had the right spin and a few breaks, somehow thinking if we could just get enough, we could help all the people who fall through the cracks, but we will never get enough. because the top of the money tree is selling the rest of the trunk. That's us at bargain basement prices, and they've convinced us to start chopping when they clearly need us more than we need them. Who holds who up?
Oh, yes, delightful. Thank you. We needed that clarity, the starkness, the reality, wake up call, all that.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
If you want to follow me on Instagram, I can be found at practically useless. That's with an underscore, practically underscore useless, practically useless, practically useless. That's me.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing.